In 1956, MGM released Forbidden Planet, a film that would forever change science fiction. Behind the scenes, an 11-minute sequence featuring Anne Francis and her pet tiger was cut, never intended for theaters. This lost scene hinted at deeper themes of innocence, power, and myth that were too controversial for 1950s audiences. At its core, the film explored human desire and fear through futuristic storytelling. What audiences saw was only part of a carefully constructed narrative that combined lavish production, groundbreaking effects, and psychological depth. MGM's gamble on such an ambitious project defied the conventions of the era, elevating science fiction to serious cinema. The origins, from Fatal Planet to MGM. The idea for Forbidden Planet began in 1952, when two painters, Irving Bloch and Alan Adler, walked into MGM with a concept called Fatal Planet. Neither had ever written a screenplay, and studio executives dismissed them initially. Science fiction was regarded as a low-budget genre for leftover actors and recycled props. Yet their pitch was different. It wasn't about words, but imagery. They imagined a planet not as a backdrop, but as a canvas to explore awe, silence, fear, and technology. MGM initially shelved the idea, but the concept lingered, waiting for a moment when studios would take the genre seriously. MGM takes a risk. By 1954, interest in science fiction grew alongside television and the space race. MGM revisited Bloch and Adler's pitch and transformed it into what would become Forbidden Planet. The studio invested between $1.9 and $2 million, a massive sum for a genre that often operated on a fraction of that budget. Sets were built from scratch. The cast combined emerging talent with seasoned actors, and every detail aimed to elevate sci-fi beyond pulp entertainment. MGM's gamble was bold. Executives whispered about the cost, but the film ultimately proved profitable. More than that, it reshaped the way Hollywood viewed science fiction, showing that the genre could command respect, artistry, and audience fascination. Time and setting, a futuristic canvas. Originally set in 1972, the story's technology felt too advanced, so writers pushed the timeline to the 23rd century. The distant world of Altair 4 became a space for imagination, a place where the unknown could be terrifying and beautiful. The narrative borrowed heavily from Shakespeare's The Tempest, with Dr. Morbius as Prospero and his daughter Altaira as Miranda. Even the monsters were more than physical threats. They were manifestations of the subconscious, echoing Shakespeare's spirits of vengeance. By combining high art with sci-fi spectacle, the story achieved depth rarely seen in 1950s science fiction. The result was a film that explored ego, power, and repression under the guise of futuristic adventure. Directing with discipline, MGM assigned Fred M. Wilcox, whose prior work included Lassie Come Home, to direct the film. Critics questioned his sci-fi credentials, but the studio valued his ability to manage large casts, complex sets, and tight schedules. Wilcox approached the story seriously, treating it like Shakespeare in space rather than a typical sci-fi adventure. There were no jokes or winks to the audience. Every frame emphasized human drama alongside technological spectacle. His perspective allowed the surreal elements to breathe naturally, grounding the narrative in character and emotion. Wilcox's direction helped bridge the gap between fantasy and realism, making Forbidden Planet a story of psychological depth as much as interstellar intrigue. Script evolution, psychology, and myth. Screenwriter Cyril Hume expanded Bloch and Adler's concept, infusing it with literary, mythological, and psychological layers. Freudian ideas shaped the monsters as manifestations of Dr. Morbius's repressed desires and fears. The plot explored themes of trauma, knowledge, and power, demonstrating that the true danger lay within the human mind rather than alien threats. Dialogue alone could not carry these ideas. Hume used subtext, visual symbolism, and mythic resonance to enrich the story. This intellectual layering distinguished Forbidden Planet from other 1950s science fiction films, offering audiences a narrative that was both thrilling and reflective, with philosophical undertones hidden beneath the gleaming surfaces of futuristic technology, Anne Francis, and futuristic fashion. Anne Francis, only 23, portrayed Altaira with a combination of innocence and defiance. Her costumes, designed by Helen Rose, featured what would later be recognized as one of the first cinematic miniskirts. Conservative executives worried about audience reaction, and Spain banned the film until 1967. Yet Francis's wardrobe became iconic, symbolizing youthful futurism and independence. Altaira's barefoot presence on Altair for combined vulnerable drama. Francis did more than wear the future. She became part of it, embodying a new vision of femininity within science fiction that challenged social and cinematic conventions simultaneously. Leslie Nielsen and the Moral Compass. Leslie Nielsen played Commander Adams, the crew's moral and logical leader. Long before he became known for comedy, Nielsen portrayed a serious, commanding presence. He embodied the rational human response to the unknown, a foil to the irrational and dangerous forces unleashed by the Krell technology. His performance foreshadowed later iconic space heroes, establishing a blueprint for the disciplined, courageous Starship Commander. Nielsen's grounded presence reinforced the tension between human control and unconscious chaos, ensuring that the story's psychological and moral dilemmas remained central. Even in a film dominated by spectacle, his role highlighted the human stakes behind advanced machinery and alien phenomena. Supporting roles and subtle horror. Warren Stevens portrayed Doc Oll, a character who discovers the Krell's power too late. His final words, "monsters," resonate deeply because the threat comes from within, not from external enemies. The film emphasizes psychological horror over visible violence. Monsters emerge as projections of desire, fear, and ego. Stevens delivered his performance calmly, making the understated terror more profound. Even secondary characters contributed to the story's layered themes, reinforcing the film's focus on human vulnerability in the face of advanced technology. This approach elevated Forbidden Planet above typical sci-fi thrills, blending suspense, intellect, and emotional resonance in a way rarely seen in the genre at the time. Robbie the Robot, a new kind of character. Robbie the Robot became an enduring icon, more than just a machine. Inside the suit was stuntman Frankie Darro, while Marvin Miller provided the voice, uncredited. Robbie combined charm, menace, and intelligence, creating a character that was simultaneously friendly and mysterious. Unlike traditional monsters, Robbie embodied a technological presence that reflected the film's psychological themes. Audiences responded to Robbie's personality as much as his capabilities, recognizing a new approach to robotics in film. The character blurred lines between machine and character, reinforcing the idea that technology in Forbidden Planet was inseparable from human psychology and mythic imagination. Premiere and legacy. The film premiered at the Southeastern Science Fiction Convention on March 3rd to 4th, 1956, rather than in Hollywood, signaling its unique place within both fan culture and mainstream cinema. It was a financial success and a critical turning point for science fiction, demonstrating that the genre could combine spectacle with intellectual depth. Themes of desire, fear, and the unconscious mind resonated even if audiences were not fully aware of their origin. Over decades, Forbidden Planet has been studied as both a technical achievement and a psychological allegory, cementing its influence on cinema, literature, and popular imagination. Conclusion. A timeless experiment. Forbidden Planet was more than a film. It was an experiment in blending art, psychology, and science fiction. From a discarded painter's concept to a multi-million-dollar MGM production, it challenged conventions of narrative, performance, and design. Every element, from casting to set design, costume, and the monsters of the subconscious, contributed to a story about power, desire, and human limitation. Its legacy persists not only in the history of science fiction, but in its impact on how filmmakers approach genre storytelling. By daring to take risks, MGM created a timeless work that continues to inspire awe, reflection, and wonder in audiences worldwide.